I'm ready when you are.
Shane, what went into no AR play tomorrow or Saturday?
Well, I think, he's one play away, from going into an actual game, and don't want to take the risk there. In that situation, we got a lot of our 3s and 4s playing in this game. It's their last opportunity to go prove it, to make a 53-man roster, and that's where it's at.
Are there any guys who have maybe missed preseason action, like they would be more in your 2s or 1s that you're going to play for just to get them work?
Yeah, I think we signed a few guys too here the last couple of weeks that are probably going to get a lot of action too in this game. Like I said, I want to make sure our starters are healthy heading into week 1. So you'll see a lot of different bodies out there on Saturday.
Well, have you determined how much Riley and Jason are going to play each?
Yeah, Riley will play the first half, and then Bean will play the second half.
This is, with Riley, I mean, once the season starts, he won't get a lot of work. Because, so what's the value of Saturday for him?
I think it's big. Being a rookie, getting out there in the game-like atmosphere for him. He's gotten some good reps in training camp, and to get a whole half of action will be good for him and his development.
What are you hearing health-wise for?
He will not. He will not.
What are you hearing health-wise from some of your core guys, especially?
They're all tracking well. I'll say that. I think a lot of those guys hopefully will be back next week, and then for sure I think they'll be back for week 1.
Getting Jalen and Juju back with that corner, you feel you obviously have to feel better with the cornerback position.
Yeah, for sure. We want to get those guys back out there and healthy, and obviously Juju practiced today, and Jones is tracking well. So Juju will get some reps on Saturday, get those game reps, and to get those guys back will be big for the depth there.
What's up, Buck dealing with?
He's got a back right now. Yeah.
Shane, did anybody maybe around the league reach out to you after the decision, just, I don't know, expressing support, advice, anything?
Yeah,
the last couple of
people
days?
reach out all the time when stuff like that happens, and I'll keep those conversations private, but had good conversations with people around the league.
Shane, when Anthony got benched again, you mentioned, and I actually, what do you think you could have done throughout the development process to help, I guess, not get to that point again? You mentioned the injuries that he's going through. Well, beyond injuries, what other things do you think you could have done to help the development plan get to where it needs to go?
Yeah, I think that's a process. It's a day in and day out process. Like I said, just in the meetings, the classroom, the fundamentals of everything, and continue to work and stride in those areas. And he hasn't made improvements in those areas, and I think he's going to continue to improve in those areas.
Well, I guess what you specifically, what do you think you could have done different?
Well, I think you look back in those situations, like I said, I mentioned the injuries, but again, meeting with them, met a lot with them during those injuries, just obviously from a mental standpoint, staying in it, and I think he did a good job with that. He's continuing to improve with that. So those things in the classroom, continue to develop that. I think that's just an ongoing process, is what we're going through.
Shane, given the fact that guys in this game could turn into a Sire Franklin, as a seventh-round pick, or Kenny Moore was an undrafted guy, just how much effort does the coaching staff put into evaluating these games when you have all those 3s and 4s?
Yeah, no, they're big. I think sometimes I've been around guys in a third preseason game. Austin Eckler is a great example. When I was at the Charge with him, we played at San Francisco, and he caught a couple passes and broke away and kind of made a name for himself in that game for us, and we kept him on the roster, and he's become a great player in this league for a long time. So you never know who it's going to be for us this year. So I'm excited to see those guys go and play Saturday.
Shane, guys have talked about how Daniel really pours himself into the job and his presence being here a lot and all that kind of thing. How does that? How do you see that sort of help raise his game? What's the direct correlation there?
Yeah, I think it's a great correlation. A guy that's he loves the process. In here early, the work ethic. Obviously, being a veteran player, seen a lot of ball. The way he talks to the receivers about route discipline and certain things with the offensive line, I think will pay dividends for us.
Is he? I think a couple of guys even said he's pretty assertive about that stuff, like with the guys. I mean, we talked to him and he's quiet as a mouse. So, how do you see him sort of assert himself that way?
You see it on the practice field all the time after plays. He'll bring guys over, hey, on this play, hey, make this adjustment here. I like this versus this coverage. If they're playing this, shoot, you might need to break that route off a little sooner rather than later. All those little details that go into it, like I said, with those guys, and they're taking to it. like I said, I think it'll pay dividends.
Shane, how would you evaluate just the job that Cam Turner's done in the quarterback's room since you've out here, specifically with Anthony and all those
Yeah.
kind of behind the scenes areas?
Yeah, no, I think he's been very detailed. Cam is very meticulous about the breakdowns, the note taking, going over every detail, situations that could come up in the game. Obviously, when you're going through a game week prep, and even in the off season, I think he does a great job with that stuff. And he treats everybody the same, coaches everybody hard, but I think he's very detailed in that aspect.
Shane, your guys' penalty numbers have been high in the preseason. Usually you're a pretty good penalty team. Do you chalk that up to preseason emphasis, or
Well, that's a
too
huge.
bad a ton?
No, I know. I think a lot of teams have had it around the league, and that's a huge emphasis. That's one of the first things I always go over in the team meeting is the penalty report, whether it's practice or joint practices or preseason games, of eliminating those things. And a lot of those things, sometimes you can't control some of the things. Sometimes you get a call that you may not like, you could disagree with it, but a lot of those things come down to technique and fundamentals. The holding stuff, got to eliminate those. False starts, or they're all controllable things. And so I make a big point of emphasis on that, going into the season.
Shane, why do you think you all should be trusted to, I guess, help Daniel Jones play better football than he has as of late or recently in the last couple of years? When the last time you were trusted to develop a quarterback, he's been benched for a second time.
Yeah, I think, you go through a process, and Daniel's, going into year 6 had, some highs there in New York, and then had some lows. But the way he's attacked it, the communication that I've had with him, that Jim Bob's had with him, that Cam's had with him, it's been very fluid in that regard, so I feel confident in that.
You feel good about
Hey, couple more?
Josh Downs for week 1, or is he?
I do. I feel good with Josh, yeah.
Mentally, how do you think Anthony's handling this situation? Do you think he's deflated or anything like that? Just a couple days removed from it?
You know what? I've had great conversations with him the last 2 days. Obviously, when I let him know the news, he handled it great like a pro. Talked to him yesterday in my office, and he was great. He just said, "Hey, man, I'm going to continue to work." And I said, "You're one play away." He said, "You're right, I'm one play away." So he's been great.
When do you think it shifted from he needs to play to get better, and I guess get the reps, to he needs to sit to get better?
Well, I think we had a competition. I made that very clear, and I'm very transparent about the competition, and those guys were competing for a job. And Daniel won the job, and so now he's going to see it in a different light.
And what's Anthony's long-term future here? How do you see what plan do you all have for him to develop?
We're going to continue to develop in the meeting rooms, on the practice field, fundamentals, details. Still go through your process like you're going to be a starter because you're one play away.